discuss that coming on board.
It's got a red ring.
I'm not saying very much today. I'm just going to briefly outline the heritage statement.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone here this morning. I don't think we've any apologies. No, we're all here. Can we approve the minutes of the meeting on the 10th of October?
Agreed.
Haven't any announcements to make, really, except the ongoing situation in Israel and Gaza is just getting beyond belief. I just don't know where it's going to end, but just thoughts go out to everybody who's suffering, and as a cabinet we just call for peace across the Middle East. We haven't got any urgent items to add. I draw your attention to declaration of interest, and then we go on to the key reports. Item 6 is the capital programme update. This report can be found on pages 7 to 19, and it informs Cabinet on delivery of the Council's capital programme at the end of Q2. In addition, the report also confirms the 2025-26 school basic need grant allocation of 0.4 million from the Department of Education to provide new school places across our district. Table 4 on agenda page 10 provides a summary of the Council's capital programme at the end of the Q2. In total, the 5-year programme has increased 415 million, with just under 117 million profiled for 23-24. Just under 22 million has been injected into the capital programme since the last update to Cabinet and is summarised in Table 3. The report provides further details on the makeup of the programme and the spent to date at the end of September. A useful one-page summary is included at Appendix 1. As set out in 3.4 of the report, page 13, 1 million is proposed to invest in the local area capital grant scheme, which supports projects identified through engagement with our residents and voluntary and community groups. I think this would be really good news for all elected members and for our communities who so much need funding in their areas to do things. And finally, section 3.5 of the report seeks approval to realign 2.5 million from the long-term maintenance plan to reactive repairs. There is sufficient budget control to this and provides flexibility across the property budgets as a whole, rather than seek further injection into the programme. The recommendations are set out in section 2 on agenda item page 7, and I move this with the report. Any questions, any comments? Okay, thanks very much, that's agreed. Item 7, Councillor Cummings.
Yeah, thank you. The Public Space Protection Order in Pontefract was first introduced in 2017 to tackle the increase in intoxication, either by alcohol or by drugs. The Public Space Protection Order was extended for 3 years in November 20 and expires this month. The purpose of the report is to extend the order again for a further 3 years. The Council can extend by up to 3 years if they consider it necessary to prevent the original behaviour continuing or reoccurring. The Council have consulted the police, who are supportive of the extension. The zone covered by the order is outlined in Appendix A and B of this report, and Cabinet are asked to approve the proposal to extend the PSPO in Pontefract Town Centre from the 22nd of November.
Thanks, Maureen. Any comments, any questions? Michael? Jack?
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, just to welcome this report, Maureen. It's really good to see as well the comments from Inspector Dickinson of just how valuable the PPSO is to the police in tackling these actions. I think it goes to show how closely we work with the police in partnership to tackle antisocial behaviour, and hopefully this will continue to protect Pontefract Town Centre for years to come.
Yeah, I think they are good orders, and of course there is one at agenda item 17, which is for Castleford, which is the same, to extend by 3 years. It does give the police additional powers to actually tackle antisocial behaviour that seems to be, or has seemed to be on the rise in our 5 towns areas and Wakefield.
Michael?
Yeah, I really do support this as well. So I think it's good that we're doing it. I suppose this isn't sort of I'll prefix, this isn't a dig at anyone in terms of like the police or anyone else. But I suppose something like this is only as good as the enforcement that goes with it. And Maureen's right, this type of behaviour is on the increase in Pontefract and Castleford and in Wakefield as well, although that's not obviously in the reports today. And I do think that we need to do more. We need more police out there. The numbers are clearly there that they're making the arrests, they're taking people off the street. But when they do that, they're gone for, I think it's about 4 hours while they do all the paperwork. And they'd like to be out there doing more. They really care. You know, we've spoken to them many times. So I'd like to see more enforcement. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, but I think it's something that we need to look at as a cabinet, as the police. What more can we do to meet this growing demand?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, we give the police the tools to actually do this, and you're absolutely right. We don't have enough police officers coming through or actually working in our town centres, and a lot of the enforcement seems to be down on the council. I think we've seen recently two prolific shoplifters taken off the streets, but that has been a cost to the council which we can't recover. But these, you know, we can only put these in place and hope that our partners, the police, actually, you know, I'm going to say take them seriously, but I know that they do take them seriously, but they need to do more work in enforcing them.
Yeah. Fully support what you're saying, Maureen, and you know, Michael's articulated the fact that enforcement's a really important part of it, and that's it. I'm just slightly worried because we are talking about town centres here, but we've got the peripherals. I mean, I know my ward and other wards, we shove some of it out. Shoplifting in Airedale's gone up disproportionate over the last 2 or 3 years, and the enforcement's nil, to be honest, Maureen, in these areas. And I do worry slightly that we do look more into the town centres, and when it rises, antisocial behaviour in the town centres, the police pull out and concentrate on that particular thing because they haven't got enough resources, and you're right, Michael. But then what happens is, back there in some of the other areas, it just rises, even, like I say, disproportionately. And I think sometimes, maybe as a district, we ought to look at 1 or 2 of these things as well. That it's, town centres are important and it's the main thing, but antisocial behaviour is just shooting up in some of the other areas as well. And maybe, and I know we are talking to police about this enforcement on a regular basis, but we should keep on doing that, enforcing that issue, that it's not just about particular areas, it's about the whole district.
Michelle?
Yeah, thanks. Just following on for that, I completely agree with Les on that, and also I'm not taking away the fact that Wakefield needs this, because it does, and so do many other areas across the district. And I just think, whilst we've got the Castleford one that we're looking at later as well, perhaps is there something further we can do as having a district-wide approach with the police, because the last thing we want to be doing actually is putting in orders in places that are never going to be enforced, because that's setting the expectation that we're going to do something. But in places like South Emsall this week, we've had 2 huge fires caused by antisocial behaviour, and through drinking and all sorts of things, it almost feels like, as well as looking at these, we might take a whole, like a holistic district-wide approach, as Les has said, to look at, with the police, what's enforceable, what realistically can we do, and can we move forward with some more of these. I think they are very good for the public. They feel quite confident when they're in there, because they kind of know there's something can be done, because at the minute, I think, in terms of policing, residents feel that there's not a lot happening when things like this are happening.
Yeah, I think it is across the district. I mean, you know, when you represent wards such as Jack and Matthew and myself, which are rural wards, you know, there's nothing really that's central to actually pinpoint. I know with like the Airedales and Kirby and certainly Central, there's something to pinpoint. But we do need to work better. We're always going to be firefighting because there's just not enough police officers. I mean, when we had the cuts, didn't we? 20,000 police officers went about 5 to 8 years ago, and that saw the end of of the neighbourhood policing teams that actually walked around the areas, and we used to see them, and the residents actually got used to seeing them and felt safer within their communities. I mean, what we need to encourage is more police officers, and I know there are police officers coming through, but it takes 2 years to train one, and of course the police got to an age where they can retire, and they did, and a lot of experience went. I mean, we just have to keep pressing the police, Alison Law, etc., to get more police officers, and to certainly get them out into wards such as Jackson, Matthews and my own, that are rural wards that don't have much policing at all. But at least this is a step in the right direction.
Oh, it definitely is. And if we've all finished, can we approve the report? Thank you, Maureen. You're on a roll for a bit now.
I think it's, yeah, and I don't think my microphone's working, it keeps turning itself off. But anyway, the purpose of this report is to seek approval for the procurement of a generic domiciliary care service and an emergency support and carers service that is jointly funded with Wakefield ICB, that's the Independent Care Board. The Council and the ICB are committed to a whole system partnership approach. Only through working together can we provide sustainable services over the long term that aim to help all Wakefield and district people to live longer and better. However, the Council and the ICB currently have separate commissioning arrangements for domiciliary care, and the aim of this report is to bring those two commissioning arrangements together and move forward jointly to deliver domiciliary care as outlined in 3 of this report. The recommendations are outlined in 2.1 of the report, and that is to seek approval for the procurement of a generic domiciliary care service to ensure that residents in our district receive the best domiciliary care that we can provide.
Thanks, Maureen. Any comments, anyone? We happy with the report?
Yeah.
That's agreed. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
Right. Off you go.
Okay, and the purpose of this report is to seek Cabinet support for a long-term commitment to grant funding agreement Citizens Advice Wakefield for a period of 3 years from the 1st of April. Our partners, Citizens Advice, have been absolutely superb, certainly during the pandemic and the continued partnership that we have with them. However, they do have year-on-year funding through public health. And this year what's been decided is that we give them a bit more sustainability and fund them for 3 years, and that's the purpose of this report. I mean, it is outright, the agreement is outlined at the recommendations, 378k per annum for 3 years, and as I say, it gives our partners at Citizens Advice that sustainability to continue helping residents in our district and of course supporting us as a council. And the recommendation, it is a recommendation that I'm asking for approval for.
Joe.
Thank you, Denise, and very much agree with your sentiments, Maureen. I think Citizens Advice provide absolutely invaluable support to residents across this district. In the time of austerity, they're providing more advice than ever, and I've noted in the report 6,000 people in Wakefield have benefited from their advice. And I think from an economic point of view as well, if you look at the social return, I think it's every pound spent, up to £50 of value is generated by the services that CAB provides. So I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to give them 3 years security rather than an annual basis. So fully support the report.
Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. We know ourselves how difficult it is to live from one year to the next when you're trying to plan services and support people. So I think it absolutely is the right thing to do a 3-year grant. We've seen in all of us communities how valuable having Citizens Advice is in times of cost of living and people are losing jobs and people just don't know where else to turn. Citizens Advice are just providing a whole wealth of support, and probably some of it without out of their remit because they just want people to get on and get by, and I think whatever we can do to help that will just beneficial for our residents.
Margaret.
Yeah, fully support this, Maureen, and I think the 3 year, definitely we need that because these problems aren't going to go away for people in 12 months. So really we need to extend it. Do an absolutely marvellous job for people, helping them, and to have that safety net there that people know they can go and speak. And I think we need to perhaps get the message out there to there will be people out there that don't fully understand that this service is available. So the more we can spread it, around the district, the better to me, but certainly support the 3-year.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think during the pandemic and since the pandemic, we've proven that citizens' advice are getting themselves out there. They're out in communities, they're out in most communities now offering that advice. And Jack, you're absolutely right. I mean, during the last campaign that we did with citizens' advice, it brought in over £1 million, and we're just embarking on the third campaign with them. They're truly really good partners, and obviously I fully support this recommendation, and I think, you know, they've gone from the days of just being citizens' advice being behind a door on King Street to actually citizens' advice being out there in our communities, helping those people that they need to be out there helping.
Yeah, I think that's right. And when you think back to the pandemic, when we set up the recovery board and how citizens advice people stepped up to the plate and really worked with us, and they are really true partners, and I think to give them 3 years and some stability will be amazing. And I know you were instigating, Maureen, right at the beginning of the pandemic when we put them out into the community and funded that, and what a difference it made to people. As you say, just being a small office in King Street to going out across the district, tremendous service, and we fully support them. So can we agree then? Yeah. Thank you. And then you're off again.
I am, aren't I? Right, okay, the next one is the purpose of the report is to approve to provide grant funding to our partners WDH to continue the CareLink service. We know that the CareLink service is a truly wonderful service in vulnerable people's homes. It allows them to live independently, but with that link that supports them if it is that they get into crises. And this is to approve funding to continue that. We do receive a little bit of income from this. It doesn't actually cover the funding because there is a small charge to people that use CareLink. But as I say, it doesn't actually cover the whole cost. So this again is a 3-year agreement of an annual cost of just over £378,000, and Cabinet are asked to approve the continuation of the CareLink service for the next 3 years.
We all happy with that? Mm. Okay, thank you. Michelle, Heritage Framework.
See this work? There we go. So our district has a great wealth and diversity of heritage, from the impressive range of historic buildings, our nature reserves, as green spaces, to the rich theme of the district's proud mining and textile heritage. And we know that it is important to everybody's life. So the Heritage Framework we've got is a strategic document which is the first of its kind for the district, and it outlines our themes and aspirations to work with key partners and stakeholders to support our heritage future. It'll act as a guide to how we can support current and future heritage opportunities, as well as helping us to prioritise the investment of the heritage so we know where we're protecting first. The framework really is a journey of transformation and growth, and we seek to use it to support the aspirations to create a more prosperous, inclusive and vibrant economy, enriched cultural landscape with its heritage at heart. The report has got 5 themes, and these have been created through engagement, so heritage-led growth and regeneration, heritage tourism and connectivity, inclusive and diverse heritage, and my laptop's frozen, creative capacity in heritage and culture, and heritage skills. So the report is asking for Cabinet to approve option 1, which is a preferred option of the report for approval to adopt our heritage, our stories, our heritage framework for Wakefield District.
Thanks, Michelle. Any comments?
Yeah, it's just nice to see it all in one place. You know, we know we've got some fine heritage across this district, but we've seen it piecemeal previously, and it's just nice to see it all in one place. And I think we should celebrate it.
Michael?
Yeah, totally agree. I think everyone across the district really appreciates. It's not just listed buildings, is it? There's lots of different stuff across that makes up our heritage. And I think the principles of increasing engagement of people with the heritage and then conserving it for the future are the 2 most important things. So whilst we might not have all of the money to do all of this, it's great that we've got that framework in place for when we do attract that funding, so very much welcome it.
Yeah, I think it's a great way of doing it. And when you think of when we had the event the other week for our year and how everybody came together and talking to people from different groups, how much they value Wakefield. I don't think sometimes we appreciate just what we've got, and to see it like this, it's tremendous. So can we agree the report? Okay, thank you. Item 12, Revelling Up.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, this report is to gain approval to progress the A639 Park Road Levelling Up Fund scheme and inject monies into the capital programme for scheme development. To use the grant funding to develop the outline business case into a final business case for the scheme. So yeah, it's about improving the Park Road, Jubilee Way in Pontefract. As we know, after we got rid of the traffic lights and install the roundabouts, traffic's moving quickly through that area, and the bottleneck is now near to the park. So it's about improving junctions, but also putting some crossings in there, as we know people from the college going over to the retail park. It's not the safest place to cross, and also putting some cycle lanes in there for active travel, and also improving bus connectivity in that area. We will also, as part of the scheme, be working with the retail park, as we do know at peak periods, traffic going to the retail park does start causing issues on Park Road, so we'll deliver a scheme there as well with their support as it is off the network. So with that, I'm happy to move the report, and the option is option 1 at 4.1. Thank you.
Les.
I certainly welcome this report as a person that travels down that particular road and by the retail park and certainly through Pontefract on a regular basis. It's been needed, but we should also remember it's just the volume of traffic, Matthew. You know, it's coming. People come off the A1, especially when there's issues off the A1. They come down and follow that route. So it's an excellent plan, and we certainly welcome it. And the sooner that it's done, the better, I would say.
Thank you for that, Les. And we do know at the moment we have got the issues on the A1 that is impacting massively on Pontefract. So yeah, I do agree with your sentiments and thoughts.
Jack.
Thanks, Denise. Yeah, I welcome this report as well, Matthew. I think looking at the expansion of the cycling routes, it's really positive to see that connection being made between Castleford and Pontefract for commuting purposes, but also for the core-benefit of people being able to enjoy Pontefract Park and to travel there on a bike safely and be able to enjoy it. And I welcome the crossings as well, particularly for the college pupils and people using the park and leisure centre. So all round, I think it's a good scheme and great to see some money coming in.
Thank you. Yes, supported by the Combined Authority. We do always get criticised when we start talking about cycleways and one thing or another, but you know, a lot of this money is for cycling infrastructure, and I mention it all the time, I make no apologies. The Castleford Greenway has been a massive success that goes through your ward, Denise. I use it myself as I live down near it. The amount of people that enjoy that has opened up the river, and the reports coming on later will support that. So yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Can we agree with the report? Thanks very much.
I'm on a roll now.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, this is the SIL report for the annual funding statement. The report is there for noting. It is just letting members know what money is going into parish and town councils, and also into wards that receive SIL funding. We are doing a piece of work that obviously you are aware of, Denise, with wards, to start helping wards spend some more of this money, because it has been there for quite a while, and some wards bank deposits, one for a better word. So the report is there for noting. There is a list of some of the schemes that have been published and have been developed through this funding. So with that, I'm not to take any questions.
Yeah, just on agenda page 155, it does list the SIL money for the town and parish councils. My question is, and maybe it's not for you, maybe it's for Gillian, I didn't think Winterset had a parish council, but yet they're listed here as having funding.
Parish meeting, not parish council.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you.
You live and you learn. You live and you learn.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, I think it's a good thing. As you know, Matthew and I, we're meeting with local members to help them understand the SIL money. I think it's been a bit of a mistake. People haven't understood that this funding was available. and I think people now are going to come forward, and it will only benefit communities, and if we can spend it on extra schemes in highways, crossings, etc., roadwork, and other things, sporting facilities. But I just think it was something that people didn't know about, and I'm glad that you've really brought it to everyone's attention.
Thank you.
So can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. And then the Castleford Growth Corridor.
This is basically a realign of funding. We was projected to fund the bridge on Weldon Road ourselves, but the Combined Authority have come now forward with funding for that. So it's a realign of funding that we've got for the scheme. The scheme, once again, is there to ease and help with congestion along Eyre Street, Bridge Street, Weldon Road, but also put cycling infrastructure in there, crossing infrastructure, and also create some new public realm with the buildings along Eyre Street. So it's a great scheme. It's once again supporting economic development and levelling up funding within Castleford.
Michael.
Thanks, Matthew. Very much welcome the scheme. After seeing what happened at Newton Bar, I can't wait for all these little schemes. I've got every faith in you, because that's a fantastic one, and I think this is going to be the same. My question is, in terms of the buildings, do we have a timeline for when they're going to come down?
Yes, we have been in negotiations with corporate landlord who are leading on the buildings, but I am told very early in next year that the buildings will be coming down. I think we've talked about the frustration with the funding that you've got, Michael, moving forward. I think people in Casper will really see now that things are happening. We are dedicated, committed. So when these buildings come down, they will open up the River Aire on that side, make some public realm. Will be absolutely fantastic. So early in the new year, yes, hopefully the buildings will come down.
Yeah, I think it's important that we try and stick to a timeline, because those buildings now have been boarded up for 3 years, and people in Castleford say to me when I walk around, you know, what's happening? You say you were going to do it and you haven't done it, and people have expectations raised. They think things can happen overnight. We know they can't, but it has gone on far too long, and I think sooner we get them down the better and open up the riverfront, and I know you're working on that.
As somebody whose mother walks past there on a daily basis, she is constantly asking me, when are you getting them buildings down?
Good.
So
She's
definitely onto it.
I'm glad she's on it. Les.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's one of the main things that's talk of Castleford and all that. And every time I go into Castleford, which is on a regular basis, they do talk about that. I really welcome what's happening down Weldon Lane as well, because we are talking about the river frontage, but you need that connection and all that side of it. And I know when we put the cycle tracks down on Weldon Lane, and that a lot of people initially, and this is for you as well, Jack, on that, initially said, well, nobody ever cycles down there. Well, they don't because of the road. What this is going to do is open it up, and that's the reason that we put the cycle tracks down.
Yeah.
And I think the links, and it will happen, Leader, because I think it's important. What we're doing with the river frontage and all that links into what you've said, Michelle, about the heritage of the place. Now we develop it. So we will push ahead with these, not just on the buildings, but on delivering the roadworks and all those. And hopefully, in future, a near future, we can see a completely different Castleford, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. It's just that these things take time. We make announcements that this is going to happen, and people think it's going to happen the following week. And the way of putting schemes together just is so difficult. But I know that all of us together are working on this. And, we will meet the deadlines, and we will make such a difference in the Castleford projects.
I think it is, and it's just a gateway we've got to go through working with the Combined Authority.
Yeah.
It does lengthen the process out, but when we get there, as Michael said with Newton Bar, it's all worthwhile. I'm positive about it all.
Good.
Good.
And if your mum keeps
She
on
will
to you, that'll make the difference. Can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Thanks very much. Item 15 is the Treasury Management Report. This report can be found on pages 203 to 226, and it informs Cabinet of the Treasury Management activities in the 6 months to September 23, and provides assurances that these activities complied with the strategy and policies that were approved by full Council in March 23. In addition, the proposed Treasury Management Investment Strategy for 24-25 is included at Appendix 2 in advance of the approval reports to Cabinet and Budget Report in February 24. Section 1.3 of the report provides Cabinet with the key issues which are in the Council's long-term indebtedness of 558 million, which is called the capital financing requirement. The Council's actual external borrowing totals 238 million, of which 66 million was short-term borrowing. It remains the Council's strategy currently to borrow on a short-term basis due to the high level of interest rates. Where possible, the Council uses its internal reserves and balances to defer the need to take on more external debt. This is termed under borrowing, and this policy has saved the Council significant interest payments in the first half of this financial year. The recommendations are set out in paragraph 2.1 on agenda page 204. If agreed, this will go to Audit and Governance on the 27th of November for their scrutiny, and also to Council on the 29th of November for information. Any questions, any comments?
That's good.
Okay, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Yeah. And then item 16 is the financial health report. This report can be found on pages 227 to 249, and it informs Cabinet of the latest forecast position against the revenue budget for the current financial year, which is an overspend of just under 2.3 million. The report also contains further information on the one-year collection rates for council tax and business rates at 3.7. The recommendations are set out at section 2 and can be found on pages 227. And with that, I ask that we agree the report.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. Councillor Cummings.
Yeah, thank you. Again, this is similar to agenda item 7, to approve the continuation of the public space protection order in Castleford Town Centre, which was originally introduced in 2017. The order prohibits persons in the Castleford Town Centre area from using intoxicating substances and from urinating and defecating in public places, and Cabinet are asked to approve the extension of this order.
Yeah, I'm sure we can all agree that. It has made a difference, and particularly we talked about enforcement, but the enforcement officers in Castleford have made a tremendous difference, and we set up a business forum who are monitoring this situation closely, as you can imagine, and they are really impressed with what's happened there, with the enforcement and with the order. So they'll be really reassured, Maureen, that the order's going through again. So thank you for that. So with that, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Okay. And then Les.
Yeah. This report, which can be found on agenda pages 267 to 276, seeks approval to retain the existing local council tax support scheme for 2024-2025 and for the working age element of the scheme to continue to provide support up to a maximum level of 70% of council tax liability. Councils are required to provide such a scheme to help people on low incomes pay their council tax, and approximately 20,000 residents receive this support across our district. In addition, there are around 10,000 residents of pensionable age who access the support. The pensioner element is, however, prescribed by central government. By proposing to keep the scheme unchanged for 2024-25, it's my belief that this will offer welcome continuity and stability for those residents across Wakefield who rely on this support during what is particularly challenging financial times. The recommendation, as set out in 2.1 of the report, is for Cabinet to recommend to Council that the scheme remains unchanged. If agreed, this will go to Council on the 29th of November for approval in advance of statutory deadline. And I think it's, as we say, it's really needed in this district. And to continue this is really important, Leader.
Thanks for that, Liz. Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. I completely agree and support the report. I think the last thing that we want to be doing when people are genuinely on their knees and struggling is to pull the rug from under them. We've got, you know, lots, and the working element of this is really important because we have a lot of people in this district who are in work who are finding things really tough through no fault of their own, and I think we as a council need to do everything we can to support that. So I welcome the report, and I think going forward that we should be looking at it.
Yeah, echo everything that Michelle's just said. I welcome the commitment by this council to help and to continue to help those people who we know are vulnerable across our district. And the figures that are mentioned in the report, the 20,000 people who are probably on income support and the pensioners who are on pension credits, absolutely aligns with the figures that we have in the Resident Recovery Board. So, you know, for me, it just goes to prove that this council want to help those people who are vulnerable. And this is just another tool in our armoury to help them.
Okay, can we agree with the report? Agreed. That concludes the meeting. Thanks very much, everybody.